We have members, Noel Halverson present, Barb Dorf,
Excused.
Stephen,
Here.
Corey,
Present.
Joshua,
I'm here.
Benjamin.
This is beer.
Regarding approval of the agenda for the Monday, June 24th meeting. Oh, anybody? Action on approving the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Second. The motion is second to approve the agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of the minutes of the May 20th, 2024 meeting.
So moved.
Seconded.
We got a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the May 20th, 2024 meeting. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right. Regular business. The Zoning and Planning Board of Appeals hears and acts on appeals for variances from city zoning code requirements. The members of the board are appointed and the board acts as a quasi-judicial body during these appeals, which means that appeals are presented kind of like cases presented in court, and the board acts as the judge and determines whether to grant the appeal by majority vote. For each item, we will hear from the applicant and staff, as well as any additional witnesses where appropriate. If you are the applicant for an item on tonight's agenda, please come and take a seat at the table when your item is called. And so we're on to regular business appeal 24-18, consideration with possible action on a variance request from First Security Credit Union property owner and Brett Paul of Excite Real Estate, the applicant, requesting to exceed drive-through facility standards for placement of drive-through window and menu board between the front facade of a building and the street on the 3000 block of Finger Road, parcel 21-7596. It's the goal of the Board of Appeals to provide and conduct a hearing that is fair in form, appearance, and substance. To ensure that this hearing satisfies these goals, each member of the Board of Appeals please confirm the following for this particular appeal by stating I confirm. I do not have a conflict of interest in this matter.
I confirm.
I confirm. I confirm.
I confirm. I have not received any communication from any person or party about this matter.
I confirm.
I confirm. I confirm.
I confirm. All right. Do we have a petitioner here for this?
He is online.
We're online. Okay. And before we hear from the petitioner or the applicant, we will hear from staff. John, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I do.
Go ahead.
All right, thank you. What we're looking at here is a variance request from 44-1584, sub M, sum 1. No drive-through windows and menu board shall be located between the front face of the principal building and the street. So they're seeking relief to place a menu board and drive-through on the front faces between East Mason and Ontario. So you may recall there was one similar a few months ago across the street. It's a different one. This group came in front of the Plan Commission and Common Council to ask for a conditional use permit for a drive-through window within a C1 district. That was approved under the condition that there needed to be a variance because of the site design for what has been proposed by the applicant. This is a street view of the property. So it's a three-sided design of this block. If this is a brand new platted area, you wouldn't see this anymore, but this is remnants of the past. You see these things happen to where you would have streets on three sides of a parcel itself. So what the proposal is you'll note back over in this, it's a larger property, a second condition that was placed upon that CUP was that they're going to be splitting the property up in the future to have more development on the west side of the property. As part of the CUP, the drive-through be contained to just the eastern part of the property and has to be subdivided here into the future. But for the time being, we're just looking at this one overall parcel. So this is a drive-through coffee shop that's being proposed on the site. The only entryway for a vehicular entrance is off of Finger Road. And so the applicant has placed a drive-through proposal to split where there'd be essentially two future property lines. and keeping it as far away from Finger and Ontario as possible at the intersection. With that in mind, the drive-through is proposed to go in a counterclockwise fashion to where there'd be an order board, and that is located down over here, slightly past the front face of the front of the building, and then a pickup window over on this side. So keep in mind when it comes to the code itself, if we're talking drive-throughs, you're to place the order board and the pickup window facing in towards the property. That is, I would say, a much simpler proposition when you're having an infill lot in the middle of a block where you just have one side of a street to contend with. This has three sides, and the drive-in entrance is located along Finger, so that's the one spot they can come forward with. If they were to meet all parts of the code, that would mean that the order board would be completely past the front plane of this building for the East Mason Street side, and then the pickup window itself would have to be on this western facing wall of the building itself. That in that case, the pickup window and the order board would be not in the front yard setback along either one of the three streets. So they are looking for relief to allow for both of those two physical traits to happen on the property.
Thanks, John. Questions for staff? All right, let's hear from the petitioner. May I ask who's online with us here?
This is Brett Paul with Exeter Real Estate.
Brett, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, please proceed.
Well, as John mentioned, given the property being surrounded on three sides by roads and the ordinance which doesn't allow the drive-through between the facade and the street, there was a challenge here making that reasonably work with a site plan. We did modify this site plan to, have the least amount of impact, I would say, on, the residential area. Having that drive-through along Mason Street where you have the traffic as opposed to along the back of the property on Finger Road. Given that across the street, we know that the same relief needed to be granted. We think this relief makes sense and will be required for our business to operate here.
Questions for the petitioner?
So if I remember properly, the other site that we approved also had other businesses there on the same parcel, which limited options. Why did you not simply move the building all the way over to the landscaping spot and make the drive-in come in on the far side so that you're not backed up?
Are you saying?
So you see where the landscaping is on the plan, if you can see John's screen?
Mm-hmm.
Why not just move the building over there?
Yeah, we tried a number of site plans that I've been sharing with John throughout the process. And, we have a national architect who handles all the Ziggy's corporate site plans that need to get approved by corporate prior to. And based on the feedback we've gotten from staff, this was the one that made the most sense. I'm not a designer, and I can't really, explain the rationale on everything, but this was kind of the one we felt made the most sense here.
Hey, Brett, also, could you state your address as well, for the record?
Sure, yeah. Address is 745 McClintock Drive, Suite 305, Burr Ridge, Illinois.
Other questions? All right, well, thank you, Brad. We will deliberate here and come to a decision.
Thank you.
Thoughts?
I don't understand why it's just not on the other side of the lot. Is there, there's gotta be a piece of this I'm missing?
Wait, I'll jump into this because we did go through some deliberations as far as where to go with this. Keep in mind that wherever the building is placed, it's the drive-through has to be between, if this is the size of the building, between this wall, the northwest corner of this building, and the southwest corner of the building, in that plane, back that way to the west. So when you have a drive-through, you have to have your pickup window be on the left side of the building itself. So we can't have, or not we, but any person coming in cannot have, in the city, a drive-through that would be on the right side of the building.
So, okay, so you mean entry to the drive-through cannot be on the right side of the building?
So what cannot be on the
left side of
the left side of the building, yeah, because if they happen to have had a drive-through that came around like this, and then they picked up here, they could do that. That is an option for that to happen.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind, as far as when putting this together, there are things as far as impervious surfacing, and traffic queuing with the actual drive-through itself, to where you have to have 3 cars queued
Right.
before and 3 cars after, as well as having sufficient space for your floor area ratio.
Okay.
So keep in mind when it comes to this right here, as far as the patio,
Right,
we're considering that area, because it's an outdoor space that's used, to be a part of the floor area ratio that got them to their minimum threshold
Okay.
for this property. They had to get to .1 off of the code for that area. So they're using it in an active space, it becomes a part of the overall FAR.
so in my mind, if you simply swapped the landscaping area and the building itself, swap those around and then have the traffic flow come from that side, where, leave the lanes where they are right now, just have the traffic come down the other side, and that way you've got all that lead for the cars, and the pickup window and the menu border are on the left side of the building, and everybody's in code and everybody's happy, and it shouldn't take more or less space than what's being proposed here now.
You'd have the drive-through lane between the patio and the building.
No, because the patio would be on the other side of the,
So you're suggesting put the building right here?
put the building right there.
Yeah,
But then you're using your passenger window to pick up your order.
No, you drive in from that side.
I think what Steven's suggesting is to
Yeah.
just
And you drive
flip-flop
from
these
that side
in.
Around, if you come up on the left side of that building,
Oh, yeah.
you'd be on the passenger side with your car.
Okay. Yeah,
So
you're
you'd
right.
have to have
You're
the
right.
road on the right side of the building,
Yeah.
in which case it's gonna split the
You're
pedestrian.
right, and he's not gonna have enough backup.
yeah. What we have to keep in mind is the drive-through entrance, unless we're coming forth with another variance question here, has to come from the northwest corner of the property.
Oh.
Because the intersection, as far as how far, this is 200 feet going from the drive, the center of the drive, to the center of Ontario. It's 185 feet that you need to have to go from this drive lane on a 25-mile-per-hour street, from the intersection to your drive lane. And that's a minimum, and that's, or if you can put it on the furthest western part of your property, or furthest away from wherever the issue is at. So he is right, that there's a lot of juggling happening here to
right, I understand,
in site
I'm
plans to make this
satisfied.
to one.
I'll take a crack at it here. As far as preservation of intent, I don't think that a variance is inconsistent here. I think that, you know, that strip is certainly a developing area of Finger Road and East Basin. You know, there's been other infill in that area here recently. So I think that developing this parcel in a commercial versus the sort of agricultural or historical use of that property is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the regulations. I think that there are exceptional circumstances here. It's a goofy block that's, or a goofy lot that's bounded on 3 of 4 possible sides with street frontage. And for this area, there isn't anything else that's feasible here. The lot itself is, again, exceptional or unusual as compared to anything else in the neighborhood. Preservation of property rights, I think that a variance is necessary here in order to allow for any meaningful development of this sort on this lot. So I think that this variance here does preserve property rights. I'm not convinced that there's any detriment to, or substantial detriment of any sort to adjacent property. In fact, I think that the way that this is designed is beneficial as possible to get those vehicles off of the street and away from the neighborhood. And as far as the hardship aspect is concerned, I don't think that, certainly this isn't self-imposed. This lot is a relic to a bygone area in the far east side of Green Bay. And these folks are doing the best they can to make a go of it, many decades later. So with that, I would be satisfied that all 5 factors are met and would move to approve.
We have a motion to approve the variance as requested. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We've got a motion and a second to approve the variance as requested. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Brad.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Item 2, Appeal 24-19, consideration with possible action on a variance request from Paula Nayrick, sorry if I've mispronounced that, property owner and applicant, requesting to exceed driveway standards in a front and side yard at a single or 2-family residential home at 1989 Candle Way. If you could help me all ensure that this hearing satisfies our goals of fairness, appearance, and form and substance, please confirm the following for this appeal by stating, I confirm I do not have a conflict of interest in this matter.
I confirm.
I confirm.
I confirm.
I confirm.
I have not received any communication from any person or party about this matter.
I confirm.
I confirm.
I confirm.
I confirm. Great. And as typical, we will start with staff. John, do you swear from the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I do, but first thing I want to note, is there the applicant does not appear to be here. Is there a representative on her behalf here?
I am here, Paula Nayrick. I'm on the phone.
Fantastic, thank you, Paula. Then
You're
we'll proceed.
welcome.
Yes.
Go ahead, John.
All right, so we're looking at 2 different parts of the code here. They're both intertwined as far as what we're seeing. Section 44-1746, sub 2, sub C, single family and 2-family residential driveway shall lead from the public right of way directly to a garage door opening plus 24 inches on either side of said door. Driveways are regulated as follows: for attached drives, which is what this is, driveways leading to attached garages shall meet the applicable side or rear setbacks for a principal structure in which it is situated, or shall meet the side yard setback of the existing attached garage, whichever is less. And finally, section 44-1747, sub B, sub 3, sub C. 1 uncovered parking space is permitted in the side yard alongside a garage, provided said space is not located between the building and street and is set back from the side rear lot lines by no fewer than 2.5 feet. So she is seeking relief to permit a driveway which goes approximately 108 inches or 9 feet past the garage door opening and creates an uncovered parking stall space which does not meet the minimum width of 8 feet for a stall and is located 0 feet from the side yard setback. So this is the property itself, and this is an aerial image from May of last year. And you can see the driveway that has been poured here. There was a complaint that was given to inspection staff and was first acted upon in August of last year for this driveway. This is a view of the driveway back in August 2023. So there were no permits that were pulled for it. And the driveway itself, which was poured, exceeds standards for this area. This is an aerial view that is taken showing the building itself Why I chose this view is because if you look through aerial images, you're gonna sometimes see a bit of distortion based off of where the photo was taken above. This is where in this shot, which was taken back, I believe, in 2017, the building is the most directly in line with the imagery. And that's where you're seeing, mind you, to the roof line, and not the actual building itself, down at the footing and foundation of about 5.6 feet from the roof to the property line. Take into account how wide a typical gutter is, say 24 inches, that still makes it about 7.6 feet or so from the edge of the building to the property line. And what's happened here is they've poured then. So we've seen this before in the past, in order for a parking stall to work alongside a garage stall, it has to be the following: 8 feet wide, 15 feet deep, and have a minimum setback of 2.5 feet from the property line itself. Going back to this image here, there simply isn't enough room to do that on this side. And the city does not go and look exactly where a surveyed line would be on a property line, but noting from where this is as far as math goes, from the overhead photos to the, back over to the property line, and you can kind of see here, it looks like that driveway straddles right at the property line, potentially going over. We're not suggesting it is going over, but we are suggesting it is not 2.5 feet from the property line, which is what you need to have for that setback if you were to make the extra driveway alongside of an attached garage or any sort of garage stall alongside the property line. So what you see here are some options that were given by staff to try to make this work. Allowing for a walkway to still happen, to place in some things like trash collecting and things of that sort alongside the garage, even though there is not a door right there, but the need to remove the section of driveway that does not get into code itself. What you'll see over here is some additional concrete space that's not allowed, but that said, speaking with the property owner, they're looking to put in a barrier that would separate this area here from the driveway back over to the walkway, thus ensuring there wouldn't be any sort of vehicular parking happening on that side. With that in mind, staff feels that actually would satisfy code, and so we're not looking at any sort of variance action there. So they haven't done it yet, but they're in the process of trying to do that. Staff has no issue with that. The issue that comes into play is having the driveway that does not lead to a legal parking stall alongside the garage, and then the expansion of the overall driveway width alongside the side yard setback.
Thanks, John. Questions for staff?
I got one.
Yes.
Is there anywhere, like, if the garage, like, I'm trying to remember, from an extension from the garage door itself, it still would have to be at least 2.5 feet off, for instance, if you were to make that parking spot to the side of just the garage door itself in front of the garage? Is there anything related to that?
Right, so driveways can lead to the garage door plus 24 inches past the opening. So if you take this line and you extended it, which it kind of, you can see that actual marking the pavement where it goes to that building line, it can extend there, presuming that's 24 inches past the garage door. It just can't go beyond that. Now, as noted here, there can be room for a walkway to go back that way. It just can't be wide enough to then support vehicular traffic. So the absolute max it can be is 5 feet back that way. That's still far too narrow for a vehicle to go onto, and that's the width of a typical city sidewalk. It's 5 feet.
Okay, that's what I was trying to clarify, as far as, like, there's not really even enough room to technically put an extra parking spot, even if it were in front of the garage doors, or in front of the garage versus on the side.
Correct. Yeah.
It wasn't, this is Paula, it wasn't intended for a parking spot. There's nothing that grows over there, because when years ago, they did landscaping over there, they had a lot of landscaping paper and red rock. And we tried turning it into grass and we couldn't. With the rain and everything, it washes so much dirt and mud over there. We had no intentions of making it a parking spot, just cleaning it up, and giving the sidewalk back to the gate and for our garbage cans there.
Thank you, Paula. We're going to get to you in a minute if we could just hold your comments for a moment.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. Any other questions for staff? All right. Paula, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes.
Great. Tell us a little bit more about this and why you're requesting this variance.
I'm requesting it because, I think it was back in the 80s, the owners of the home had did some landscaping, that had a lot of landscaping paper and red rock, that was all landscaped over there, and we tried growing grass, give it more greenery, but it wasn't working, and then with the rains and stuff, it washed everything over and make it very hard to keep up and tidy. And then with us having a gate right there leading to our backyard, we wanted the concrete to clean it up and make it easy access to our backyard, and making the front of the house for our landscaping, in my terms, pleasing to the eye. It was never intended for a parking spot. That never even crossed our mind. I don't even know if the concrete was laid for, as far as I know, not for parking, whether it's reinforcement or whatever it's called. But it was just to help clean up the side yard because it was so messy over there. And we tried getting it, to grass where there was greenery over there, and it just wasn't working in that side of the house.
Questions for the petitioner?
So I have a question. I take it there wasn't a permit pulled at the beginning of this project?
I'm sorry?
There's no permit, John told us.
Oh, John, okay, there was no permit. Why wasn't there a permit pulled at the beginning of the project?
I do apologize. I did ask my contractor if a permit needed to be pulled for the driveway and what we were doing, and he told me no. So that is my fault. I took his word at it, and I didn't do any further research, but I did ask my contractor if a permit needed to be pulled, and he told me no. That's why I didn't have a permit pulled.
We need to do some training for construction contractors.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the petitioner?
How long did you attempt to grow grass, or and what methods did you use? Did you try laying sod? Did you just plant grass? Did you fortify with extra dirt? Or like what did you do to try and pull the red rock and let paper out of there to kind of make the soil ready to take grass?
We cut down a tree that was over there, and then we turned around and we did lay grass seed. We fertilized it, we weeded it. We had a landscaping company come in and tell us we would have to dig down about 18 inches to pull everything up, and that was quite expensive to turn around and dig it all up and then add black soil. I moved into the house in 2015, and I proceeded to try growing grass over there up until we got ready to do the concrete work. And when we realized with our attempts and our abilities that we couldn't, that's why we decided to go with the concrete work.
Paul, I'm looking at the fence from the street. Is the gate to the left or to the right? Is the gate up against the house, or is it out from the house?
It's out from the house. I do believe that it's, when you're looking at the gate from the street, you got the 4x4, and then it's either one, maybe two pickets is when the gate starts.
Okay. Any other questions for the petitioner? Thank you, Paula. We'll deliberate and make a decision here.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, my wife reports.
Excuse me, Noel, would I be able to say something?
Oh, Who is this?
Sorry, Paul Van Andel, I'm a neighbor at 1981 Candle Way.
Yes, if you've got some testimony that is relevant to the petition here.
I'm not sure that it is, anecdotal, I guess.
Go ahead and we'll decide whether or not it works. But Paul, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes,
Okay.
Paul, what's your address?
Or you just,
I'm sorry, I'm 1981 Candle Way, directly to the north.
go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure we're talking, the cement work that was done is up to the property line, is that correct?
It appears to be so.
Okay, so it did not breach the property line at all?
We don't know that for sure. We haven't surveyed the property, so we just know based on these photos.
Okay, I don't have a problem with the work that was rendered there, as far as, you know, what was done. So I don't have a contention with it, I guess, is what I'm saying.
And you're the immediate adjacent neighbor?
Yeah, I think there may have been some confusion as to where that property line was, and it does not appear to be over, and so unless whoever filed the petition knows more than I do, I mean, I'm just looking at it with, naked eyes, so I don't know that it breached that at all. It doesn't appear to be.
Yeah, that's something you'll need to take up with your neighbor if you want to clearly define that. We're just looking at questions of setback and other, conformity with the zoning.
So this is irrelevant then, as long as, okay,
Sorry, we can't be more definitive for you.
okay.
Is there anybody else who has testimony to provide related to this? Okay, let's talk about the situation here.
Mr. Chair, my wife reported that there's a large police presence around City Hall right now. Just thought that would be something everybody might want to know.
There's a large group over by Initiative 1 on my way over. I don't know if it's spilling over or what.
That's where I seen it too.
Yeah, it looked like it was next on the next. Well, thank you. What do we, can't lock the door. It's a public meeting.
I didn't expect us to do anything, I just wanted to be
Just be
everywhere.
aware. Thank you, thanks, Steve.
Field trip time.
If it wasn't anything, I wouldn't want to be the guy who didn't say anything.
So this, what I'm hearing here is a petitioner says that it wasn't their intention to create this for parking, and looking at the photo with the waste bins and the downspout coming out, they're obviously not parking there. That's, they're running the gutter off the garage roof and putting some garbage cans there, which begs the question is why have the big flare? If the intention wasn't to do this, then maybe they can have the result they wanted. My biggest concern, I guess, is that with the location of the gate and stuff, it's like to have a walkway on the side of the garage that actually can't reach the gate because the setback requirement is 4 feet for the walkway or quote patio, right?
So the setback requirements would be for a walkway along, if it truly is a walkway, is 1 foot from the property line.
Okay, but it's still too close with this, in this case here.
If the fence is directly located alongside of the property line and the door swings out directly at the property line, you would have some issues with the concrete setting, yes. Yeah.
Thoughts, analysis, brilliant observations.
I'm having a hard time getting there. I mean, for me, the hardest piece is I'm not seeing exceptional circumstance on this particular lot. I appreciate the difficulty in landscaping and that. I'm no green thumb myself, but I've got a number of problems with this, but I think that's the biggest hurdle for me, that I'm not able to get there.
And if we were to proceed with the disapproval of the request, and the areas marked on this would be, was this staff's markings for what would need to be removed?
Right.
At minimum?
Yeah, we wouldn't be here today if the removal was happening.
Right.
Where that happened, yes. You can have a walkway back in that area, maximum 5 feet in width.
And so 5 feet, we don't know exactly where 5 feet is given this.
No, we do not, yeah.
But it could be 5 feet out from the side of the house, and they could conceivably move the gate to, you know, to be at the end of the walkway as opposed to where it is now, which would be kind of hanging out there a little bit, but.
Would swinging the door to swing the other way?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
It looks
You
like-
mentioned that if the door swings up, that's.
Oh, I guess I'm just noting that you have the space there to where Noel's right, you could shift that sidewalk around to where you happen to have building, landscaping,
Mhm.
with the sidewalk, more buffer within the code, as long as you're leaving that 1 foot
Sure.
between the property line
Okay.
and the sidewalk.
But having dirt between the sidewalk and the side of the building is the thing they were trying to deal with in the first place, because they weren't able to get anything to grow there, so. But I too am struggling to see the conditions for granting a variance here. Is anybody seeing those tests being met?
No, I can't meet them. I have a lot of sympathy for the applicant because her contractor should have warned her about this.
Absolutely.
I don't think it's her fault, but unfortunately, the consequences are on her. But I don't see a way to get through the 5 tests for this.
Corey, thoughts?
I'm having trouble with it as well. There's a number of ones that I would not be able to get past. Again, expressing sympathy that the contractor should have been more forthright or understanding of the rules that go along with the concrete that they lay.
All right, is there anybody willing to make a motion on this item?
I'll move to deny.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to deny the request. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. We're sorry we've denied your request.
Okay,
Please work with staff, maybe to get a final outcome of what you need to do to be compliant.
will do.
Item 3, Appeal 24-20, consideration with possible action on a variance request from Christina Capo of Fox Cities Sign, applicant Ganjude Ivan Chevrolet, Inc., property owner, requesting to exceed monument sign standards at 1001 Auto Plaza Drive.
Before we go on, can we note, is the applicant or representative here? Or online?
I would entertain a motion to table this, or to hold this for our next meeting.
I so move.
Is there a second?
Out of abundance of caution, I'm going to just recuse myself from any board on this altogether.
Potential conflict of interest? Okay. Corey, you want to second that motion?
I'll second it, sure.
We got a motion and a second to hold this item over for our next meeting. All those in any further discussion, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye, opposed, motion carried. All right, on to item 4. Thanks, John, for that. 24-21, consideration with possible action on a variance request from Jason Frisch of H.J. Martin, property owner and applicant, requesting to exceed minimum front yard setback requirements for a freestanding sign in an industrial zone district at 1609 Western Avenue. And I imagine you are the petitioner.
I am not the owner, though.
So, before we begin, I want to note for everybody, it's the goal of the Board of Appeals to provide and conduct hearings that are fair in form, appearance, and substance. To ensure that we satisfy those goals, please help me out by stating, if you can, I confirm. I do not have a conflict of interest in this matter.
I confirm.
I confirm.
I concur.
I have not received any communication from any person or party about this matter.
I confirm.
I confirm.
I concur.
I confirm. All right, and we'll start with staff as usual. John, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I do.
Thank you, please proceed.
So this goes into section 30-37, signs permitted in industrial districts. In table 30-3, one of the requirements is front yard setback for signage is a minimum setback of 10 feet. H.J. Martin, the property owner, which Jason is employee of, is seeking to place a monument sign along Western, approximately 3 feet or so from the property line. So this is the overall property itself. This is Western Avenue. Military is right here. So if you are going westbound out towards Howard,
You're actually the property across the street.
sorry, yes, this is, should move that down here. Right here, that's across, they own all this stuff here. This is Martin, this is Martin, this is Martin. It's actually the property right here. Sorry about that, as far as where that store was placed.
This actually proves my point.
So we're going to get to that. This is the property itself right here that's in question. So if you're going westbound down Western Avenue, this has been Martin for a while in this area as far as the distribution center. If you recall back in time, this was the batter's box. Across the street, there's some more H.J. Martin distribution. And in the meantime, they have worked on doing expansion of their property and offices, and they're in the process of doing some site work with an approved site plan to reconfigure the old Seaway offices into some more office and training centers for H.J. Martin back over in this picture to the southeast. A part of this, they had to get an approved site plan to make this work, and because they're doing some work on the loading dock area, there are requirements as far as landscaping and setbacks, and this was already an existing structure and making that work within the code. Part of this to work is they needed to have a landscaping buffer because it's out in front of the street itself. So with that landscaping buffer, it has to be opaque to a certain degree. With that in mind, there's about 15 or so feet from the back of the sidewalk to where the existing driveway or parking area, drive area is at for the loading queuing. It's not parking for employees, it's a loading area. It's do some maneuvering, things of that sort for loading docks back in this area that were already existing. But because we're doing this aforementioned site plan, they had to put in this new landscaping. So you look back here, nothing. But they are looking to put in junipers and other such landscape elements. With this in mind, they also applied for a sign permit to put up a monument sign. Now, said monument sign here, you're going to see two signs. This monument sign over here, while it is now a part of one large property, that is the office area and training area, whereas back over this way, this is the operations and distribution area. This area back over here, this sign's not in question. It is a part of commercial zoning. In commercial zone districts, you can be 0 feet from the front yard setback. In industrial districts, you have to be 10 feet from the front yard setback. So going back to this photo here, their sidewalk itself is about 15 feet from the back of walk to where they're loading parked areas for queuing in back in the woods. And they're planting in junipers and other landscaping items. That will be taller. That's on purpose to get a certain height to try to block out that area from view from the street. So they're seeking relief to place that sign about 3 feet or so from the back of walk. If you take 3 feet plus 3 more feet for the monument sign that they're requesting is to be 3 feet by 6 feet tall. 6 feet tall is the most you can have for a height of a monument sign. It's also directional signage. Directional signage, if you happen to be 8 square feet or less, would be exempt completely. It wouldn't really matter where you put it. But they're asking for a bit more. They're asking for double the size, but 16 square feet in total for this sign. This is the overall industrial way. So this is the railroad track. So where you have to see the star, that was back at this area. And you're seeing with the color coding there, the different uses that they have at the H.J. Martin sites. And so commercial glass and door fabrication is back down this way. And they can see in here the already existing loading docks back in this area. So with that in mind, they're seeking relief to place the monument sign within the front yard setback.
John, is that sign, that second sign they're asking for, that's in the industrial zone, is it the same distance from the sidewalk as the office sign?
I don't know exactly. So when it came to that one, when we review sign packages, we require site plans, but we give them some leeway. And the biggest thing for us on that side was make sure you stay outside of the vision triangle. If you happen to be, if you want to place that 0 feet, we don't have an issue. If you want to place that at 10 feet, we don't have an issue.
As long as it doesn't interfere traffic going from Western to Middle.
Right, because it's in the setback, we didn't have an issue with that, where they put it. If they wanted to move it and justify, or move it around a bit, it really isn't something that we would take action on. The part we're concerned about is vision triangle
Right.
over in that area.
Okay. Other questions for staff?
Was there any thought given to the vision triangle in the industrial area? I'm not having a good visualization of where that's
Oh,
going to be
right.
in comparison to the driveways.
Yeah, not necessarily for here at all. So the vision triangle comes into this shape and form for a driveway entrance. It is based off of where the curb is at and where your entry is at the sidewalk itself. You can form an X and Y axis, and then you have to go you form a hypotenuse off that. We felt this was fine as far as it was not an
As you're
issue.
leaving the driveway, you're able to see clearly up and down the street and
Yeah.
safely enter traffic.
Is the, well, I'm not asking that, so, okay, thank you.
We're good at that.
Other questions for staff? Thanks, Steve. Other questions? All right, let's hear from the petitioner. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes.
And please give us your name and address.
Jason Frisch, 3469 Baywatch Drive, Green Bay, Wisconsin, 54311.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So I think I know where you're going with your next question, but yes, the visual triangle, should it, those driveways be like the alleyway
Yeah.
where the other one is,
Yeah.
it would be in conforming even with that.
Staff's happy with it, I'm happy with it.
Okay, the setback on the sign that is in question, asking for the variance, would be the same setback as the one that doesn't need a variance. So they'd be in conjunction.
They'd be harmonious with one another.
Yeah, they'll be harmonious with one another. The point of, and John kind of actually helped out the whole point, is because the color coordination, that gives you an idea of what we're trying to do to get people to go to the right places, because it is confusing, you know, and we're taking on more space now with more expansion, and we're trying to make sure that traffic is being cut down to a bare minimum in that area. Just today, actually, I had a FedEx truck that went to this building that this sign's supposed to go in front of, because they were supposed to be at the other distribution center across the street. This is one of those things. We do have, and if you look at that color coordinated layout right there, we have 2 bus stops that are also, one on the south side, one on the north side of the street. So we have to be, we're trying to be conscious of that by eliminating as much traffic as humanly possible. It seems like anyone turning onto Western thinks it's like a runway for traffic, so we have to be conscious of that. Once again, trying to get these cars in the right place at the right time. If I were to push the fence back further, the problem becomes, you can see the couple of trucks, there's 3 trucks, 2 of them look like they're kind of, John's getting there, and then go to the right. So 3 of them are box trucks. The ones that are semis are the 2 to the right in front of the right-hand driveway. They don't have the cab in the front of it. If I were to push that back and then also have the cab of a truck on there, it's gonna be hard for them to swing if I were to then now choke off my loading dock area. Because I also still need to meet, and I think it's 90% coverage up to 6 feet high for the landscaping, which we meet with the landscaping now, but then now I have to contend contend with the variance request that we have. One of the things, and I know it's not pertinent, but I know what we're trying to do too is when we're trying to spruce up this whole area, we have 8 trees on that side, and we plan on doing it across the whole campus as we do updates, is we're actually going to end up making it like the Titletown district, where we're going to light up all those trees too.
The Bartontown district.
Exactly. We want to light those up, or actually, yes, we want to light those up just like Titletown. So, a little caveat, I guess, if nothing else, but for goodwill. If you guys have any questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer them, but once again, John kind of almost helped me out to the point of where the location is, and thank you, John. But it's also, like I said, the traffic, it's pretty bad.
I'm gonna note, we have worked with them as far as the site plan goes here for a while now
Yeah.
to make this work, because there were initially, when their site plan, if they would have went through, would have had to ask for variances, and we were trying to avoid that.
We had a
We had one
variance,
before,
what, last year on
Yeah.
driveways
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
various
Driveways
codes.
and stuff.
Questions for the petitioner?
I assume the batter's box is not coming back.
No, trust me, everyone that works on that site talks about the batter's box and how that was like a childhood memory of theirs.
Oh, for sure.
Every Sunday I went there, so, I know.
What's the space between the edge of the sign and the sidewalk?
3 feet is what we have. it
So it's
set
3
for.
feet back from the edge of the sidewalk?
Yeah, from
Okay.
from the farthest point of the curb sidewalk portion, so you have your curb, 5 feet of sidewalk. Actually, I take that back, that sidewalk, because it has a little green space, but yes, from the back side of the sidewalk is 3 feet before the start of the monument sign.
Okay.
That's my only question.
Any other questions? Thanks, Stephen. Any other questions? All right, well, we'll deliberate and make a decision. Thoughts? Everybody get started on this?
John, you want to throw up the, oh, he's got it.
Oh, yeah, we'll do.
I'll take a run at it, unless anybody else needs. All right. So, preservation of intent and variance would not be inconsistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the regulations of the district for which it was requested. I think this request makes that is not inconsistent because it is the best you can do with the space that is allowed there. It is not an egregious violation, and it is not a willful violation. It has to do with the practicalities of traffic in that area and the practicalities of dealing with a building and a lot that was, well, obviously put up quite some time ago, and it had a number of uses since then. Exceptional circumstances, again, when we're talking about the, exceptional, extraordinary, and unusual circumstances, again, this lot is not something that necessarily would have been built, again, the way it is, given our modern codes. So I think that it does deserve an exception along those lines for being a unique property. The preservation of property rights, necessary to the preservation and enjoyment of the same substantial property rights. I don't know, maybe this is a little bit of a stretch, but I would think that the preservation and enjoyment of property rights also means you don't have trucks going in the wrong building all the time, since it's not like you guys are gonna have a barbecue out there. That's kind of how I see that. This is, in order to use the properties the way they're intended, the signage is necessary to ensure the smooth flow of business. And as well as to preserve traffic on the street there. Because the worse the traffic is, the worse it is for the business, that line of thinking. Actions of detriment, variance will not create a substantial detriment to adjacent property, will not materially impair contrary to the purpose, spirit, and intent of this chapter or the public interest. And I don't think it does. I think it's actually the best that can be done given the circumstances of the property, given the circumstances of the traffic, the neighborhood. And I also think that a project like this, taken as a whole, is an improvement to the neighborhood. This makes the industrial space look a little bit less starkly industrial, and I don't see that there's any detriment to the public. Hardship, alleged difficulty complying with the municipal code is not self-imposed or based solely on economic grounds. I don't think it is in either case. I don't think this is a self-imposed problem. The fact that people need signs to know where to go, That's just a fact of life. And I don't think this is based on economic grounds either. This is based on the convenience of not only the people who drive up and down Western, but for the convenience of H.J. Martin's subcontractors and delivery people as well. So that's where I'm going with those.
I would just add in for number 3 for the preservation of property rights, the uniformity of mixing the commercial and the industrials to make it more consistent for their signage would be well within their right to make sure that they maintain that property in acceptable conditions. So I think that adds into that.
Thanks, Corey. That was a point that I was thinking of as well, the hybrid nature of zoning as it relates here. I mean, signage is the one thing, or one of the things that a property owner would want to have consistent for their business, and by having 2 different codes and 2 different setback requirements, I think it's a little awkward in this case, and I think...
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, it just works well. Any other comments or thoughts from anybody on the hardship case here in terms of granting the variance? Stephen, you want to follow up your excellent argument with a motion?
Yeah, I move to approve the variance as requested.
I'll second.
We've got a motion and a second to grant the variance as requested. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, guys. All right. Next up, we've got an informational item, discussion regarding the jurisdiction of the Board of Appeals.
Good evening, my friends. So we're actually bringing this one to you a little bit ahead of schedule. The jurisdiction of the Board of Appeals is expanding, but not in a way that we anticipate
To Bellevue?
will, yeah. Not that far. No, not in a way that we anticipate will add a significant amount of workload to your plates. So we recently, last Monday, brought updates to all of our building codes to committee, and so they're going to council tomorrow for approval and first reading, and then they'll go later in July for second reading to fully go be into effect. The reason that affects Board of Appeals is because currently it's not spelled out, it's not uniform where appeals of certain things within those building codes go. So things like permit denials or the validity of orders that are issued on different properties. So those appeals, those are administrative decisions that are made by staff at an administrative level. And so when they get appealed, they need to be handled in a quasi-judicial manner. Currently, Board of Appeals is the only body that operates almost exclusively in a quasi-judicial manner. So you all are already familiar with the format of these types of hearings. Crucially, there's one fundamental difference, which is that when you're talking about variances and what you're used to doing, you're looking at the code and you're saying, okay, for these reasons, you don't have to comply with the code under these situations. These appeals will be different. This will be looking at what does the code say, what are the facts, and has staff proven that there's been a violation of a code, or has staff proven that the permit should not be granted, or whatever the matter is that's before the board. And for some context, excuse me, most of the appeals of orders issued, does everybody know what I mean by orders? So like, if there's like exterior storage of junk in your yard, or you gotta fix your gutters, or the peeling paint on your garage, or whatever it is, any orders issued by the inspection department, the updated ordinance, folks will have 30 days to appeal those orders.
Good.
And in the past, they had typically gone to, most of the time, gone to protection and policy. And I believe in the last, at least the last aldermanic term, so the last 2 years, they had fewer than 10 total over the course of those 2 years. And they also have some re-inspection fee appeals, which is if you haven't complied with the orders, you may get assessed an administrative fee for staff having to go out and follow up on the orders and those kinds of things. Those affect the budget, so those actually have to remain within one of the standing committees. Those will go to Finance Committee, so that will not be coming here to Board of Appeals.
Thought you were getting a raise for a second.
You will.
Double your current.
Yeah.
Snacks on
Yes, well, your salary will go up exponentially.
Perfect.
From 0
Sweet.
to 0 times 3. But we wanted to bring this to you today, even though it's a little preemptive. This will be my last Board of Appeals with all of you. I actually will be leaving the city next month, so I won't be at the next Board of Appeals or any going forward. So the updates to the building codes were kind of my baby, so I wanted to be the one to talk you all through it, answer any questions that you may have. And then once it's all in place and everything, Logan will handle training and addressing more specific questions and all of those types of things, but we did just want to give you kind of an overview at this point in time.
So when we might be typically seeing something like inspection staff cites whatever disaster at property X, and then the person who owns that property says, that's not fair, and they appeal, and then we sit here to hear this appeal, and the first thing John does is he puts up a picture, or whoever's presenting it, is the inspection staff going to present it? So an inspection staff person's going to put a picture up of, this is the photo before we sent the orders, this is the photo from this afternoon, it looks identical, Fred hasn't done jack, and then we say, okay, Fred, you clearly didn't do it, so.
Yes, so the only small change to that is they really only have to prove what it looked like at the time that the order was issued. Because anything after that will go more toward that re-inspection fee
Oh, got it.
question.
Okay.
Which will go to finance.
So then it's going to be, there's the picture, and then here's a text of the ordinance that says, thou shalt not have noxious weeds 8 feet tall growing
Exactly.
at your property.
And you compare what the picture shows or what the testimony from the inspector is and what the testimony from the property owner is to what the code says or what the code requires. Is there a violation of the code? If yes, the order is upheld. If no, the order is stricken, I guess.
So this isn't the same type of appeals that we see already, where we're not looking at intent or equitable issues, it's just a straight.
Just strictly legally, did they, have inspections shown a violation?
I imagine, though, we might still be seeing some of the same type of cases, like inspection says, hey, you poured a driveway without a permit and you gotta pull it out because it's not legal, and they petition that order, maybe, instead of filing a request for a variance.
They could spend a lot of money doing that and deny the place.
Don't they have to wait 2 years though?
Well, they could appeal the order and then apply for a variance as well. And it's also important to note that we're not talking about citations. So if there's been orders on a property for a while and somebody gets a citation, that's all handled through
That's municipal
municipal
court
court. You're not looking at, do they meet the burden in that respect? It's just strictly, was there enough to justify the order being issued in the first place? And if it's, if you find a situation where you're like, oh, I don't really love that that's part of our code, that's not part of the consideration. It's just, what does the code say and is there a violation?
Anybody have any questions on that?
Seems pretty straightforward.
Sounds like me applying underwriting guidelines in my normal job, so.
There you go.
That's not outside my task availability.
Great. Our next meeting is July 15th, and I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A second.
All those in favor say bye. Thank you.
Hey, good luck on your next adventure.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
Congratulations.
that.
Recording stopped.
We're really bummed, but we're